One and all, and welcome to the UK Crime Book Club pub quiz. Just quite clearly not in a pub. And I'm still in Harrogate, actually, hoping I can spin this job out all the way through till January so I can sneak myself into the Swan. It's literally just over there. I'm right next to it. And failing that, I'll be making requests on here to curl up in someone's suitcase they can wheel me in. No one will be any of the wiser. Two people who will need no such level of subterfuge to get in are here with me this evening. First of all, I'm delighted to welcome Teresa Geering, aka TK Geering, aka TG, our admin, author of the Whitechapel Murders and the Soul Fate trilogy, as well as one of our super talented admins over here at the UKCBC. T, how are you this evening? Have you done much preparation?
Absolutely no.
Super.
No, I'm lying.
You've been swatting up all since 2 days ago when I rubbed you into it, I'm sure.
I've been swatting and it went that way.
It passed you by.
So we'll see.
I'm sure we will beat your previous best of 5. I've got a feeling. And alongside T is Jonathan Whitelaw, author of Hellcorp, Morbid Relations, and this year's The Bingo Hall Detectives. Jonathan, pleasure to have you on. How are you feeling ahead of tonight's quiz?
I'm okay. Thank you very much for having me. I love pub quizzes. I was delighted to be asked. I'm delighted to be here. We'll see how delighted I am when my report card comes in at the end of the quiz. There's a big fat zero on it.
I love this level of optimism. It's quite unique for someone doing our quiz. I guess you've never watched before, so that's lovely to see. What do you reckon it will take to beat T today?
I need to be on my A game, obviously. But you know, I do adhere to that. If you're in it, you're in it to win it. I should point out, and Ben, you said very kindly on Twitter earlier on today, and I've said to you as well. I am a terrible choker when it comes to pub quizzes. I love pub quizzes. I love trivia. I've been described as trivial on many occasions by friends and enemies, but I think it's I have this terrible stage fright when it comes to pub quizzes, and I'm hoping, because we're not actually technically in the pub and I don't have a pint with me, I'm hoping it's an alcohol related stage fright. But I'm on the mineral water this evening, so we'll see. If it's not that, then I don't have an excuse.
Excellent. Well, I tell you what, we'll run through the rules as people join us in the chat. If you have got questions for T or Jonathan throughout the evening, do shoot them into me. I've got one already. Patsy, who's a regular in our group, has asked, John, where is your badge?
I don't have it on me. It's downstairs. It's downstairs on the kitchen table. I should have got it. It's beside my bookmark. In fact, I'm using. I took my bookmark out. I got one of my bookmarks from Patricia, and I've been reading Mick Herron's Slow Horses, which obviously it's a new TV show and stuff like that. And I just finished it not that long ago, and I took my bookmark out. So it's beside my. It takes pride of place on my kitchen table, but I should have. This is what happens. This is the level of unprofessionality that you get when you invite Jonathan Whitelaw onto one of your events.
And you've just slotted in seamlessly to the unprofessionality we bring to the whole thing. Let's refresh the rules and also explain them for any newbies who are joining us today. This is the pub quiz. It is all just for fun. There are no prizes. There are no awards. There is no demeaning of the loser. There is a little bit of demeaning of the loser sometimes. You are basically marking your own questions. So please write them down at home. Pen and paper on your laptop. Just don't shout them out in the chat. It's all for a bit of fun, but we do like to keep everyone guessing. So keep it out of the chat. We'll be marking at the end of the round. At the end of the quiz, you can share your score in the chat if you'd like to. You don't have to. Jonathan, T, I'm afraid you have no such luxury. You do have to share your scores with us.
Damn.
This evening with round one.
Lovely.
Which in the now famed history of the UKCBC pub quiz is, of course, books. Because we're a book club. And hopefully you read books. And they're all crime-based questions as well. So we've really niched it down a little bit there. So question one, if you're ready, ladies and gents. Jack Higgins, author of The Eagle Has Landed, died aged 92 last month. But what was his birth name? Started with a hard one there, didn't I?
Say that again. Ben?
Jack Higgins.
Sorry.
Yeah, sure. Jack Higgins, author of The Eagle Has Landed, died aged 92 last month. But what was his birth name? I think T's got that. She pulled her face, but I think she's got it.
This is I've got it.
Excellent. That question again for anyone who missed it. Jack Higgins, author of The Eagle Has Landed, died aged 92 last month. but what was his birth name? Now, if you've watched this quiz a few times, you will know that every month we send out a newsletter in the UKCBC, and you will find a lot of answers in there, including the answer to question number 2. Miranda Reich's new novel is entitled what? I'll give you choices. The Second Wife or The Third Wife? That question again. Miranda Reich's new novel is entitled what? The Second Wife or The Third Wife? And question number 3. Name the author whose latest book features members of the Penrith Bingo Club hunting down a murderer. I love the poker face there. That was fantastic. I love that. Again, regular members to the UKCBC pub quiz will know there's a few gimmies in round 1. Especially if you study body language. Question 3 again.
I'm saying nothing. Nothing.
I could have written it.
Done. Maybe that's another question. Name the author whose latest book features members of the Penrith Bingo Club hunting down a murderer. And question number 4. Whose murder is the subject of the new novel by Andrew S. French? I've previously appeared on this quiz, of course, Andrew. And yes, had a good score as well, I seem to remember, in the 20s. And he's got a new book out now. Somebody gets murdered in the title, but who? It's in the newsletter. You've all read it. In fact, I've pre-ordered the book. It sounded really good. Question 4 again. Whose murder is the subject of the new novel by Andrew S. French? Patsy, you missed question 2 and 3. Well, I will repeat those for you now. Miranda Reich's new novel is entitled what? The Second Wife or The Third Wife? That's question 2. And number 3 was named the author whose latest book features members of the Penrith Bingo Club hunting down a murderer. And finally, question 5. Name the author behind the Victorian-based Whitechapel murders released earlier this year, but did not feature in the newsletter because somebody who wrote the newsletter put that email into the wrong inbox. It's me, that was, wasn't it? You're right there, T. You did a twitch. Question 5 again. Name the author behind the Victorian-based Whitechapel murders released earlier this year. As you can see, we don't necessarily take this quiz all too seriously. Jonathan, how are you feeling the pressure at the moment? Do you feel a famous choke coming on, or have we relaxed you a little bit?
I certainly relaxed after question 3. That was that's a career highlight. I think you'll find for me.
I look forward to seeing that on your years to come. Listen, I know you might be feeling a bit more relaxed, but I'm going to ratchet up the pressure a little bit here. T.
Yeah.
Tell us about Mary Ann.
Sorry?
Tell me about Mary Ann.
Oh, Mary Ann Geering.
Yeah.
She's one of my ancestors, and she was the Gessling murderess, also known as the murdering mother.
And what did she do?
And
what explain her crimes.
In 1800, her husband at the time, Richard, inherited some money, and he put it into a building society, the Hastings and Thanet Building Society. And she had a very unfortunate life, and she decided she wanted the money. So basically, she used arsenic to poison her husband to get the money. For various reasons, she went on and murdered 3 of her 4 children as well, so that she will be the sole beneficiary of the money. But the 4th one that she tried to kill, he survived because he was taken away from her. Obviously, they exhumed the bodies over a period of time, as they did in those days. And it was discovered that arsenic was in the system, and she ended up going to Lewis Assizes in Sussex, and she was hanged in 1849.
Wow.
I know.
Yeah, that's
I
it.
found out by mistake.
Exactly. And if you do,
I'm trying to hide it.
if you do lose today, might you channel your ancestors on Jonathan?
Sorry, say
If
that
you
again.
lose today, may you channel your ancestors on Jonathan there?
More than deserved.
I
More than
can put
deserved.
the evil finger in.
I wouldn't worry about it. I don't think there's much chance of that.
I don't want to sound like I'm encouraging like this either. I'm certainly not aiding and abetting in any sort of thing here, folks. But just in case you did have an idea about this, T, Jonathan, I understand you have a particular weakness for a particular vegetable.
I do, absolutely. I'm deathly allergic to peas, garden peas, mushy peas. Yeah, it's plagued me my whole life. My wife's a doctor, right, and all her friends are doctors, and I've baffled medical science with my allergy to peas. Strange thing is, I can eat mange too. You know, the sort of flattened pea, and no problem at all with them. But if I have my garden peas, mushy peas, frozen peas, that type of thing, even just the jus from a pea, my any sort of contact that it has with my tissue, it'll inflate essentially. So it's I've got to be. I mean, the thing is, I grew up in the 1990s and stuff like that when like allergies weren't a thing. So now you go into any restaurant anywhere in the world and they'll say, "Oh, do you have any allergies?" So I always have to say, I've got an allergy to peas. I was frightfully embarrassed about it, but the biggest regret that I've got with it is that I don't know what peas actually taste like, because anytime I have them, it's normally a quick dash either to the emergency room or get as many hay fever tablets into me as quickly as possible. Yeah, it's my kryptonite. It's crazy. It's nuts. It's really,
so if someone maliciously slipped one into your dinner, it would be safe to say that you would be peed off.
Absolutely that. Yes.
There we go.
That was terrible.
Would you believe, though? Would you believe in the 36 years that I've lived with this condition, I've never heard that one before?
Seriously,
never heard it before.
That's going in my bio. Okay, then. Shall we move on to the answers for round one? Did either of you know the first name of Jack Higgins?
I have an idea. And the only reason I have an idea is because my son is called Henry, and I vaguely remember that I think Jack Higgins' real name is something like Henry Patterson or Peterson, something like that.
Henry Patterson.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I know.
Miranda Wright's latest novel. Did anyone know? Second or third wife?
I put second.
It is the second.
Oh, I put the second.
Yep, second wife it is. Question 3. T, did you know who was the author for the Penrith Bingo Club murder inquiry?
I
hope you get it right.
Him.
It was indeed
Jonathan Whitelaw.
Yes, Jonathan Whitelaw is the answer. The Bingo Hall
I have
Detective.
actually just finished it and I gave it a 5-star review.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
No, it's really good.
Jonathan, I'm going to invite you now to tell me a little bit about it, actually, while we have the chance.
Certainly. I'd be delighted to. It's set in Penrith and Ullswater, so the northern part of the Lake District, and it follows Jason Brazel, an out-of-work journalist, and his 70-year-old pillar of the society, local society community amateur, his mother-in-law, and they are on the hunt for the murderer of another member of the Penrith Bingo Club, even, Madeline Frobisher. And interestingly enough, without going into too many spoilers, if we have I understand that there's a certain theme to the music round later on this evening, and that ties in rather nicely with what Madeline used to do. I won't do any spoilers for the book or for the music round later on this evening, but it's nice, and there's a nice segue in there, and all appropriately happening in May. So it's nice. It's been great. It's been fantastic. It's been out 3 weeks. 3 weeks today. It came out, and everybody's been super nice about it. Very, very kind. Very humbling. Everybody seems to enjoy it. I had an absolute blast writing it. I thoroughly enjoyed writing it. I enjoyed spending time with the characters. I'm in the process of writing the second one at the moment. And it's been really, really, really lovely to see. And I've had some fantastic support from yourselves at the UKCBC and beyond, my wonderful publisher, my agent, and stuff like that. It's been really special. It's been great.
Awesome. Well, that's great to hear. It's in my TBR. It's on my Kindle, but unfortunately, I use my Kindle through my iPad. And if I brought my iPad to Harrogate with me at work, my son would have had a meltdown because he wouldn't have been able to play any games. So, yes, I'm going to have to take the plunge and buy an actual Kindle, I've decided. So it will get read. I am going to get round to it. And I think it's the same for your book, actually, T. I think I've got yours on Kindle as well. But anyway, moving on to question 4. Did either of you read the newsletter and remember the name of the
I said,
yeah.
Well, no, you go, T.
The Time Traveller's Murder.
It was indeed, yes. The Time Traveller's Murder is the new book from Andrew S. French. Another one on my Kindle that I've got that I don't own. A Kindle that I don't own, but I've got all these books to read. I have a lot to do when I get around to buying one. And question 5. Jonathan, do you know who the author of the Whitechapel Murders was? That might have already been mentioned in the intro.
I thought it was T. I thought she and she alone.
Yes, indeed. TK Geering. I hope everyone got that because I did say it moments before in the intro. If there are anyone who didn't get that, please see me after class because your mind can't have that.
Or me.
T, tell us all about the Whitechapel Murders.
Well, basically, it's set in Victorian Whitechapel, and it centres around body snatchers, Jack the Ripper, a character called Hayley Bruce, who
got to admire.
That is Hayley Bruce from the UK Crime Book Club.
I thought the name rang a bell. Yes, I've seen her post.
Yes, she won a charity auction for the name in the book. And the other character is Funny Bryce. They both work the streets of Whitechapel. One is a prostitute, and not Hayley, I hasten to add, and Hayley is the meat vendor. Hayley is very helpful towards a character called Inspector Laidler, who actually, she helped him to try and solve the crimes, and she is involved quite deeply with them. So without any more spoilers, as we say, that's about it, really.
Excellent stuff. And that's out now on Amazon as well. And is it anywhere else you can pick it up? Or?
It does seem to be doing quite well, actually.
Awesome.
It's quite good.
Yeah. Both our authors have got books out at the moment, so do check them out when you get the chance. But first of all, pay attention to the music round. Now, this is a new round this month. It's the Eurovision Song Contest coming up on May the 10th. And I don't know if you know this, they're changing the rules this year. Yeah, this year, all the acts have to perform a medley of songs that celebrate a famous fictional detective. After all, crime fiction is where it's at. Why wouldn't they want to find a way to widen their audience in this way? So, I'm going to introduce, this might be convoluted. I'm going to introduce the country that's performing and their featured artist. The country there is relevant, the featured artist isn't. It's usually just for laughs. And then I'll run you through the 4 songs that are part of the medley. Those 4 songs will hold clues to the detective, as will the country, who will, of course, be from that nation. And in some cases, that might be the biggest clue of all. Now, you get a point for naming the detective who's having the tribute paid to them. You can get bonus points if you can explain what the clues were. 1 point for explaining 2 of the clues, and 2 points for explaining all 4 of them. So explain why all 4 songs were relevant to that detective. Does that make sense?
Yes.
He's like, what? We'll see.
Yeah, go on.
We will begin with what I hope should be at least a relatively easy one. Oh, Donna says this sounds hard. It'll be fun, Donna. It's better than Bookmanto. Question number 1. Belgium, being represented by Technotronic, weirdly enough. Right, here are the 4 songs for the Belgium entry. Is This the Way to Amarillo by Tony Christie? Poison Arrow by ABC. Lemon by U2. And Night Boat to Cairo by Madness. So, name the author, and if you can, explain why those 4 clues were relevant. Name the detective and what those 4 clues were relevant to. I will repeat them all now. Belgium, the Belgian detective. Is This the Way to Amarillo by Tony Christie? Poison Arrow by ABC. Lemon by U2. And Night Boat to Cairo by Madness. 4 points, 3 points there on offer. 1 for the detective and 2 you can answer all the clues. Right, representing England, and I've had to devolve the home nations for the ease of making this quiz work. Representing England and resorting to their original name, it's PJ and Duncan. Wow. And they're going to be a medley comprising of the following songs: Oxford Comma by Vampire Weekend, SOS by ABBA, Woodstock by Joni Mitchell, and The Lights Go Out by Fozzy. So, can you work out who the detective is and what those clues pertain to? So again, England, an English detective, and the songs are Oxford Comma by Vampire Weekend, SOS by ABBA, Woodstock by Joni Mitchell, and Lights Go Out by Fozzy.
This is hard.
I thought that was one of the easy ones.
I've got a thought.
Question 3, and this is the hardest one, I think.
Oh, God. Ireland,
bringing out the big guns because it's Eurovision and that's what they do, and it's Jedward. Wow. 2 for the price of 1. And Jedward will be singing tonight for your delectation The Green Glens of Antrim, which is a traditional folk song, so it doesn't have a singer. Changing of the Guards by Bob Dylan. Sympathy for the Devil by Rolling Stones. And Purgatory by Iron Maiden. Definitely the hardest one.
No idea.
So there's songs again. Green Glens of Antrim, Changing of the Guards by Bob Dylan, Sympathy for the Devil by Rolling Stones, and Purgatory by Iron Maiden. And that's the Irish entry. Now, on to Scotland. Firm favourites, of course. And it's Charlene Spiteri and the rest of the Texas guys out here on stage now. And they'll be singing the following: Crocodile Shoes by Jimmy Nail, Let It Bleed by the Rolling Stones, Isabel by Best Picture, and Totally Wired by The Fall.
That's...
Are we there? It's on the tip of your tongue, isn't it? Crocodile Shoes by Jimmy Nail, Let It Bleed by the Rolling Stones, Isabel by Best Picture, and Totally Wired by The Fall. And the last act coming up on stage, it's Norway rounding it off, bringing back former Eurovision champs Bobby Socks, picked solely because that's a funny name. They're singing tonight Hurry Up Harry by Sham 69, Pour Some Sugar on Me by Def Leppard, Roxanne by The Police, and Hey Joe by Jimi Hendrix. Donna, that's a question that's been asked many a time by many professionals. None have given a conclusive answer. We're fine. We don't know. We're just going with whatever's wrong with me and we're just rolling with it. Last one again, the Norwegians. Hurry Up Harry by Sham 69. Pour Some Sugar on Me by Def Leppard. Roxanne by The Police. And Hey Joe by Jimi Hendrix. How was that, guys? My little
very well done. Very well done. Very well done. I've just got images of Texas singing "Crocodile Shoes" by Jimmy Neal now going round and round in my head.
It's the comfort
I
you never
love
knew
that
you needed
song.
in your life.
Exactly, and do you know what? They'd probably murder it because there's only one person on the earth who's got a brass neck enough to sing that song, and it is Jimmy Neal.
That is Jimmy Neal, yes, absolutely. Talking of representing your country, Jonathan,
Yes.
you do something for the Scottish Writers football team.
Yes.
What position do you play in?
Anywhere along the back line. So normally centre back, but I've played left back and right back as well. Yep.
And what's the record been like? Have you put one over the old enemy?
It's been well. We won. Funnily enough, we won in penalties against England on was it March? I think. So it was a return fixture. So we try and play. Historically, we've played the game once every year. I think it was, but through COVID and all the rest of it, all the games were cancelled. So I think this was the first time that we'd managed to play England in about 4 years, and it was great. I've also played. I played the English crime writers for the Scottish crime writers at Bloody Scotland as well, which is in a smaller pitch and stuff like that. It's more five-a-side, which is a bit better suited to my game. Is the professional way of saying it. Professional way of saying that I can't run anymore. But it's always great fun. It's great, and there's been we do charity games and stuff like that, and games against other writers, and there's some brilliant writers, brilliantly talented Scottish writers are also immensely talented footballers. As it happens, not me. I don't consider myself in that. That's why I play at the back. That's why I play at the back. But it's always a good laugh. It's always good fun to see some of the great and the good writers from all over the world descend into snarling beasts and arguing with referees over offside decisions and stuff like that. It's if anybody thought that writing was an intellectual pursuit, I could point you to not just the Scotland writers, but every writers team that I think we've ever played against. And
I must admit the thing that most wants me to get properly published as opposed to being self-published is that I want the call-up to play for the Scotland. I am wet. Since I found out that was a thing, that has been my number one.
Absolutely.
I'm waiting for that call. Jonathan, I've put a word in the manager's ear. I've got the accent, but still bleed tartan. So get me that call.
You will always be welcome. Always be welcome.
Thank you very much. T, if you could represent your country at something, what would it be?
If I was to,
anything. What would you represent your country at, if you could?
Pole dancing.
Can I do that one as well? Can I do that one too?
I've no idea.
Perfect.
Where did you pick that one from?
I thought it was only. I've asked Jonathan what he's doing. I thought I'd ask you. Shall we have some answers to the music round? Sorry, I haven't been able to post the questions in that because the way I wrote it on my questionnaire, sorry, Sam's asking, means that the answers are all mixed in with the question because I would have got lost otherwise. So, so I couldn't post that without spending time editing. It would have been a mess. Anyway, so the Belgian entry. Did anyone know the detective first of all?
Poirot?
Yes, of course. Poirot is Belgium. It had to be.
Does Miss Lemon?
Indeed, there's one of the clues. Yes, Lemon by G2 was his secretary, Felicity Lemon. Anyone else get any?
And Cairo.
Death on the Nile.
Yep, perfect.
Yeah, that was the one.
The other two,
ABC Murders.
ABC Murders. And Is This the Way to Amarillo by Tony Christie was?
I didn't get that one. I didn't. A Texas
Is this
connection.
number 2?
Texas connection or something.
Hold on, I'm just double checking. I've not completely. Tony Christie. Agatha Christie,
of course.
I thought that one was obvious from me.
It was.
No.
Yeah, so that was Agatha Christie that I was aiming towards there. So, the English author, the English detective, did anyone know who that was?
Is this number 3?
2.
This is number 2.
I got Morse.
That's what I had.
Yeah, Morse. The clues being Oxford Comma by Vampire Weekend was because he was from?
Oxford.
SOS by ABBA. SOS.
No.
Morse code. ... ..
Fantastic. Fantastic. This is
Woodstock, Joni Mitchell. Did anyone know the link there?
Mitchell, the author.
The Last Book to Woodstock. Bus to Woodstock, sorry, was a Morse book. And Lights Go Out by Fozzy. If anyone gets this, I am I'm impressed with your wrestling knowledge.
Chris Jericho, he's in Vosy.
Yes, exactly. And The Dead of Jericho was a Morse book.
Perfect.
There we go. Yes, Chris Jericho, wrestler, singer, frontman of Fozzy, The Dead of Jericho. Right, Ireland. This was the hardest one, without a shadow of doubt. I thought there'd be more famous Irish detectives, and there just aren't. But the most famous one seems to be Jack Taylor.
Okay.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, so the clues were Green Glens of Antrim. Ian Glenn played Jack Taylor in the TV series. Changing of the Guards by Bob Dylan. The Guards was the first Taylor novel. Sympathy for the Devil, The Rolling Stones. The Devil was a 2010 book. And Purgatory by Iron Maiden. Purgatory was a 2013 book. Ken Bruin, the author, obviously, of the Jack Taylor series. Scotland, then. Who was the detective?
I only got Taggart.
I said Tony Hill.
And it was Rebus.
Oh. Damn.
And I'll tell you why. Crocodile Shoes by Jimmy Nail. Tooth and Nail, the 1992 book.
Of course.
Let It Bleed by the Rolling Stones. Let It Bleed, which was also a Rebus book. Totally Wired by The Fall. The Falls was the 12th Rebus book. And does anyone know, and again, this is, I might even give you a point if you get this, Isabel by Best Picture. Why was that a clue to Rebus? Well, he's actually the lead singer of the band Best Picture. And he is, of course, the author of Rebus.
It was the Wire one, I thought, because I'm pretty sure it's Tony Hill, not from Wire in the Blood. But I think from what I've vaguely plucked from somewhere, and that's what I thought. Dreadful. My home country as well.
Yeah, well,
I've let the team down.
Shameful. Norway. Did anyone know the?
I went with Wallander.
What did you go with, T?
A straight line across with nothing.
I mean, you both get the same amount of points because it's Harry Hole. Hurry Up, Harry by Sham 69.
Of course.
Pour Some Sugar on Me by Def Leppard. 2009's The Leopard. Roxanne by The Police. 2013's Police. And Hey Joe for Joe Nesbo.
No.
Well,
no idea.
You'll be glad to know that Eurovision comes once a year.
Thank God.
What band would you like to write a song about your books, T?
Oh, God, you do throw them, don't you?
Dude.
What band would I like to write? How about the Rolling Stones?
That's a good choice. It's a good choice. They're a good band.
They got up to a lot, didn't they?
I mean, the clock's probably ticking on getting them to do it. I mean, they're knocking on a wee bit now. I mean,
I'll dig them up. I'll dig them up.
Exhume them, yeah.
Would anyone notice the difference?
That's very true. That's very true. And Jonathan, what about you? Who'd be doing the songs for the school?
Actually, I'd like to see someone like, really, really talented and musicianful and got really kind of meaningful lyrics and stuff like that, like a Joni Mitchell or a Carly Simon or something. But I think I'm probably just gonna have to opt for AC/DC because I can't get enough of AC/DC, and they once famously said that they were criticised for releasing the same album 14 times over and over again, and the Angus Young, the lead guitarist, said actually you'll find it's 18 times that we've released the same album over and over again, and you can't really argue with that sort of proper glib tongue-in-cheek response. I wish I was as smart as they were as well. Come up with that sort of patter,
It's a cracking response. I'm just going to quickly answer Sam's question. How do you work out the points for that round? You get a point for working out the detective, 1 point if you got 2 of the clues, so you worked out 2 of the clues, and 2 points if you got 4 of the clues. So 3 points in total, if that makes sense. Okie dokie. Moving on to round 3, and this one is called Love and Hate. Now, you guys might remember I sent you a questionnaire before the quiz asking you what quiz rounds would you love to see and what would you hate to see? Well, this is a round which covers both. And happily, there's one question that covers one that you hated and one that one of you loved, which is perfect. But here's one that you both said you liked, TV. So question 1. Which Australian soap has run since 1985 and recently announced it was coming to an end? Question 1 again. Which Australian soap, run since 1985, recently announced it was coming to an end? Question number 2. Gardening. Which plant has the scientific name of Narcissus? This is the round. One of you hated, one of you loved.
Narcissus.
Yep, scientific name Narcissus, according to Google earlier today. I was having my dinner. Question 2 again. Which plant has the scientific name of Narcissus? Aha. Question number 3. On March the 16th, 1872, Kensington Oval hosted the first what? That's a sports question there, just to narrow it down a bit for you, just in case you were going to say garden party. No, question 3 again. On March the 16th, 1872, Kensington Oval hosted the first what? Question 4, and this one falls under cookery. You could say it falls a little bit under gardening as well. Horse, the prince, and pavement are edible types of what?
Horse.
Question 4 again. Horse, the prince, and pavement are edible types of what? According to the internet, don't take my word for it. Just in case I'm wrong.
If it's on the internet, it's got to be true. If it's on the internet, it's got to be true.
Exactly. When did the internet ever lie?
Prince Pavement.
And question 5. Books. One of you said you would hate to have a book. Who is the author of the D.I. Erica Piper series? T, come here. Let's be nice and quiet about this. I don't want anyone hearing. Why do you hate books? Why do you hate books, T?
I'm terrible. I am, honestly. I've got them all up here. And then when it comes to something like this...
You know you're an admin on a book and you write books, yeah? Okay, well, just... the round that you would most dislike to see come up, books.
Why do you think I sit in the background?
Jonathan,
I'm terrible.
Jonathan, you put down that gardening wasn't your bag. I mean, why the lack of green fingers, man?
When I was, I must have been about 17 or 18, to do a little bit to get a little bit of pocket money over the summer. In fact, it was been 18 before I went to university. I had a gardening business, in the sense that I would take my dad's lawnmower around to any unfortunate sap who'd phoned me up and said, "Could you cut my lawn, please?" And it ruined the whole summer, quite frankly. And I always hated doing it. My dad had a very, very strict very strict approach to gardening. Namely, like, the lawn would always have to be a certain length and always had to be trimmed at the edges and all the rest of it. It was the least looking natural garden that you could ever hope for, was our garden. So I've never liked it. And my wife loves the garden, so it's worked out really, really well, because she gets to sort of take charge of that side of domestic bliss, and I get to distance myself with it.
And then reap the benefits afterwards.
Precisely. I like to sit in the garden on a nice day. It's just that the actual gardening part of it that I can't abide, as my answer for question 2 is about to explain.
Well, we will dive into the answers now. TV was one that you both said that you'd be happy to. Well, you said cinema, Jonathan, but you said TV, and I just put the screen into one. But did either of you know the answer to question 1, the Aussie soap coming to an end?
Neighbours.
Yeah, it's Neighbours indeed. Jason and Kylie set to return. Possible spin-off of the Kennedys, so it might not be completely dead. Home Away is still going, though. Who saw that coming back in the day? That Home and Away would outlast Neighbours? Not me. Question 2. So, Jonathan, I guess you've got no answers, or you're going to throw a shot in the dark. You might know, but go on. Yeah, Jonathan, did you have a guess?
I said it was a daisy.
T?
Daffodil.
Yes, it is a daffodil. You got the first 2 letters right, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Daffodil, yeah, this flower with the scientific name of Narcissus.
You wouldn't think that, would you? You wouldn't think that the humble daffodil would have such a classical sounding name. Threw me off. There you go. This is why I hate gardening.
Yeah, it was the
I
first.
had to really think about it, if I'm honest.
But it was the first one I came to that's scientific name didn't sound like its actual name. Scientific name for rose, Rosa. So yes, we finally got to daffodil, and that sounded suitably different enough for me to put it in this question. Question 3: what was first held at the Kensington Oval, March 16th, 1872? Did anyone know?
Chelsea Flower Show?
No, I did say it wasn't a flower show. Oh no, I said it was a garden party, didn't I? No, it wasn't. It was not the flower show.
Oh,
I thought it was the first ever international football match.
We were very close. It was the first ever FA Cup final.
Oh, damn.
Wanderers 1, Royal Engineers 0. Morton Betts with the winner. Played under a pseudonym for some reason. They didn't get the trophy until a month afterwards at a presentation dinner at Pall Mall. Scottish team, Queen of the South, made the semi-final. That's your FA Cup history there for you. Question 4: horse, the prince, and pavement were edible types of what?
I said carrots.
no idea.
They were mushrooms.
Oh,
Types of mushrooms.
course.
Yes. Not sure if that helps in any way when you're out in the wild, because I don't think they're labelled. But yes,
No.
horse, the prince, and pavement. Pavement doesn't sound the most appealing mushroom to me. I've just got this one off the pavement. And the author of the D.I. Erica Piper series was
The one and only Mr. Chris McDonald.
Mr. Chris McDonald. And there's a reason Chris McDonald had to come up tonight, Jonathan. You mentioned to me beforehand that I think that the exact quote was, "I will wipe the floor with him." Your words. He did say he was tuning in. I haven't seen him pop up in the chat yet, but if you're there, Chris, do say hello.
He's always lurking. He's always in the shadows.
Fires on Twitter this afternoon. What is your score so far, Jonathan? Let's check in, see how you're doing.
Hold on, let me add up. So, 10.
10. Okay.
10.
No. Okay, cool. So, NT, what's your score?
10.
10. You've doubled your previous best. Oh, she brought out the big guns for the big screen. I love it.
It's all to do with the opposition, isn't it? You know, you can only play as good as your opposition. So
bringing out the best in T today. Superb. Right. The next round is the May round. 5 questions tenuously linked to the idea that we're in the month of May. Okay, very tenuously, some of them. Question number 1. Who was Rod Stewart asking to wake up, as he really should be back at school? Question 1 again. Who was Rod Stewart asking to wake up, as he really should be back at school? Question number 2. What is the name of the main family in the Darling Buds of May?
Oh, God.
Oh,
I watched every...
oh, it's just
I
there.
haven't watched the repeats.
It's just there.
Oh, my God.
Oh, I'm just going to sit and enjoy this for a moment. See which one of you gets there first.
Oh.
I've got their first names.
No way.
That question again. What is the name of the main family in the Darling Buds of May?
Oh.
I've given Donna Moffat and Rod Stewart earworm. Nobody needs that. Sorry, Donna. All of me. Oh, I feel really bad now. Sam, because it's you, Sam, and because getting football match is probably quite
No way.
good for you. I'll give you half a point there. Sport is not your forte, so you can have a half point for that. And Patsy, if you're still hanging on, you can go for a comfort break. Go now. It's been a while since you asked. Sorry, I didn't see that. Thanks for asking permission. I really appreciate that. Question number 3.
Oh, I'm still on number 2.
You want another minute? I'm going to get another beer. You have a minute there, T. I'll get another beer. Hold on.
It's not going to make much difference. It's gone. That's ridiculous.
I can't. Do you know what? I've put something down. Something down. I'm not entirely sure.
We'll soon find out. Question number 3. May the 4th is used to celebrate which sci-fi film franchise?
Oh,
I'm teasing you tonight, aren't I, T?
oh, oh.
There you go. So May the 4th is used to celebrate which sci-fi film franchise? Film and TV, really, isn't it?
Oh,
They've got it now. What did you think it was the first time? Oh, is that the Darling Buds of May? It could be, couldn't it?
Got number 2.
Hey, that's the one. Question 4. Told you this is tenuous. The calendar of which people was behind the idea that 2012 would herald the end of the world? The calendar of which people was behind the idea that 2012 would herald the end of the world? And finally, for this round, question 5. Who sailed on the Mayflower? Question 5 again. Who sailed on the Mayflower? Did you like that round, T? I think you did.
I'm excited.
Was he? I love it. See, I knew. The lights, the camera, you'd rise to the occasion. I knew this moment would come. I believe.
I've nearly been under the table twice.
Talking of new worlds, as the Mayflower was heading to, T, you of course write fantasy as well. So obviously a lot of world building in that sort of that genre, especially. Tell me about the difference in writing for those two genres between crime and fantasy.
Basically, with fantasy, you can just let your mind wander because it's all made up worlds anyway. So crime, I think, is always more specialised. You have to think and plot much more. Whereas with fantasy, it's your own made up world, so you can please yourself as to where it goes and what you do, to be honest. And the characters can be just ridiculous names and they're accepted because they are fantasy. I do like going into fantasy and also do time traveling as well. Not personally, you understand.
I was going to ask, yes.
I haven't got time.
Perfect, yeah. I haven't got time to time travel.
But yes, basically for those reasons, to be honest.
Yeah. And Jonathan, have you ever been tempted to try your hand at a different genre, or?
Certainly, yeah. I'm a great believer of not wanting to ever become too comfortable in writing the same stuff over and over again. That's partly why, the Bingo Hall Detectives and my Parker Sisters books are both cozy crime, whereas like my Hellcorp novels are more sort of urban fantasy and crime as well. And I think we chatted about it earlier on, didn't we? Talking about being a reader and wanting to read, and most writers are readers, and you have a tendency to write things that you want to read, and I try to read as much as I can, and I'm very, very lucky in that I get quite a lot of books of different varying genres through to review. So I'm never ever short of having inspiration, as it were, to give a different genre a go. There are certain ones that I think I'd probably be a lot better at than or would maybe take me a bit more work to naturally sort of round off than others. But I love the challenge of it. I love the challenge of going from one genre, like something that, exactly as T says, like crime. It's got to be, when you're writing a crime novel, you've got to know the ins and outs of it. It's all got to be watertight by the time that you get to the end of it. Whereas if you write something like sci-fi fantasy, you're maybe afforded a little bit more of a kind of wiggle room when it comes to certain things. That said, though, I imagine it has its own constraints and it has its own issues, and sometimes the classic crime writing term is given enough rope to hang oneself. It's if you're given too much room, suddenly you've got to rein it in. But no, I'd love to have a go. I'd love to write any and every genre, to be perfectly honest with you. It's just getting a loan of that time machine to make sure that I've got time to do it.
That is the one, isn't it? That is the key. Lovely, both. Shall we get the answers to this penultimate round there? Question 1. Who was the subject of Rod's crooning?
Maggie?
Maggie May.
Maggie May, indeed. Maggie, I will accept. But yeah, Maggie May. Wake up, Maggie. David Jason, Catherine Zeta-Jones and co. were the...
Larkins.
Yeah, they were.
Yes.
How did you get that? You said you didn't know.
I had.
Oh,
Do you know?
cheat.
Do you know?
You were Googling.
Do you know?
Time machine.
Time machine, exactly. I've gone to the end to see how I get on in this quiz. The only reason I know it is because
I'm
I got
surprised you came back.
Of all the things I could have done with a time machine, I came back to complete the quiz. Do you know what? Do you know what got it for me? I thought they were the Darlings, and I thought, no, it's not that. It's something. It's something natural, birdy, and then obviously Larkin. And I watched like you, T. I actually reviewed the first episode of the remake with Bradley Walsh for the BBC. And it wasn't a patch. It wasn't a patch on it.
No.
But how do you replace David Jason in anything, really?
No.
You don't.
I agree completely.
Very true. Question 3. May the 4th is a day to celebrate.
Star Wars.
Yeah, absolutely. May the
Star
4th
Wars.
be with you. We'll also mention him again because we mentioned him earlier. It was his birthday yesterday, so show some love to Chris McDonald, who hasn't turned up because I think he thought you were going to beat him, Jonathan. So he bottled it.
Clearly.
I can see a grudge match coming.
Clearly.
Yeah. Question 4. Whose calendar?
The Mayans.
The Mayans or the Mayans. Very tenuous.
Well, I was close. I got Myanmar's.
Yeah.
Except Myanmar's is country, I've just realised.
It was the Mayans who predicted the world would end in 2012. It didn't, but I'm sure it would have been a lot of fun if it had. And finally, the ones who made their way across to America on the Mayflower. No, I don't want all their names, Patsy. Just the rough name that we applied to them all was the
Pilgrims.
The Pilgrims, yes. They made their way to America, and it's so reassuring to see how their puritanical beliefs never took root in that country in any way, shape, or form. Ends in sight, folks. Jonathan, if you could phone a friend, another author, to help you with this last round, who would it be?
Blimey. Stephen Fry. He's the cleverest man on earth, isn't he?
Yeah.
I got a very good friend of mine, Marion Todd. She's she's great when it comes to quizzes and trivia, and is highly intelligent and a regular. Her work's regularly spoken very fondly of here in the UKCBC. Yeah, it's tough. It's hard, this kind of quizzing, Lark. I'll be Larkins. It's hard going. I'm sweating bullets here.
I want to ask if you're sweating. It's an unfair question.
I am quite hot, actually, sitting next to this computer. Jonathan and you, really.
Who would be your ideal teammate?
My ideal teammates would be Lucy Sampson, because we're both like a couple of kids when we get together. We're very naughty and get up to all sorts of mischief.
Yeah, I don't know if many questions would get properly answered, but it would certainly be a lot of fun, wouldn't it? It'd certainly be a lot of fun.
Nothing would, but we would definitely have fun, yeah.
And that's the main purpose. Right, The last round, and then the fun ends. General knowledge to finish off. Question number 1. Last month, Emmanuel Macron became the first president of France since Jacques Chirac to do what? Emmanuel Macron became the first president of France since Jacques Chirac to do what? Question number 2. MP Neil Parish was forced to resign after being caught watching what in the house?
I wonder.
We like to give you some easy ones.
That's what you said.
I will accept tractors.
That's what you said.
Past that one.
Question 2. Neil Parish was forced to resign after being caught watching what in the House of Commons? Don't call me Benjamin Sam. Question 3. The shy and retiring Kim Kardashian caused a stir by wearing a dress belonging to who at this year's Met Gala?
Ah, I read that about 2 days ago.
Would it have been
And she
better?
can't get it zipped up over her bum, could she?
I
She
didn't know that in
literally
depth in the
couldn't.
story.
But I can't think who it was.
That'll be the implants getting in the way there. Yes. So Kim Kardashian caused a stir by wearing a dress belonging to who to this year's Met Gala? And speaking of ridiculous excess, question 4. Who spent a whopping £43 billion to buy Twitter this month?
Oh,
Benjamin may be cute, but unfortunately Ben is not. That's why I'm a Ben. Question 4. Who spent a whopping £43 billion to buy Twitter this month? And finally, I'll give you a couple of seconds on this one. The list was announced for this year's Old Peculiar Crime Novel of the Year. There are 18 novels on the list. List them all. No. 18 novels on the list. A point if you can name 3 of them. Just 3. Just want 3.
Is it the names of the books or the authors? Sorry, Ben.
The books, please.
Oh, right. Bugger.
ah,
No, I'll let you have the authors as well. Go on, I'll let you have the authors. Go on.
thank you.
Feeling good. I've got both written down. Yeah. The Old Peculiar Crime Novel of the Year long list is announced today. There are 18 novels. A point if you can name 3 of them or 3 authors. Anything like that. Jonathan, what's next for you after? Well, we've just had the latest book. So what's coming next?
So I literally tomorrow, in fact, all weekend, I'm heading up to Cromarty, which is just north of Inverness for the Crime and Thrillers weekend. So I'm one of the spotlight authors on Saturday, and then I'm hosting my Desert Island Crooks panel on the Sunday. We're the last event on the Sunday afternoon, so that should be good fun. It's myself and 5 authors, including Ian Rankin, who was a question this evening.
Mm-hmm. And you can tell him all about his band now.
I'm going to ask him. I'm going to ask him when it comes Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon rather. So I've got that. Myself, Marion Todd, and Emma Christie are appearing at I Write next week, May 12th. In Glasgow at the Mitchell Library. I'm really excited about that one. Really looking forward to that one. I've always been a big fan of I Write as a festival. And the Mitchell Library, I grew up. Our house used to be the other side of town. It's a very, very quick Whitelaw family history lesson. My gran used to pick me up from school, and my mum would then pick me up on her way home from work. And to get from my gran's house to our house, we used to have to drive through the centre of town, centre of Glasgow. And the Mitchell Library is positioned, if anyone doesn't know, it's positioned, it overlooks the M8 motorway, which cuts right through the city centre. And I have very, very fond memories of being driven past it and asking what it is and saying it was a museum when it was a library and stuff like that. And so the idea that I'm performing there, and I've got an event there all these centuries later, is really, really, really quite special. So it'll be a great evening with myself and Marion Todd. Well, Marion and Emma will make it great. I'll just make I'll make the stage look untidy as I always do when I'm with those two. Yeah, so that's the immediate stuff.
And in terms of books, what's the next book that we can look forward
Well,
to?
I'm working at the moment. I'm on deadline for the second Bingo Hall Detectives. So that should be out next April. So I'm about I reckon probably about a third of the way through the first draft of it. And I've been telling everybody, like people have been asking about it, obviously. And it's weird because the way that books, as everybody in this group knows, the way that books work is that a book comes out, but you're more often than not working on something else. Usually if it's a series, it's the next one.
Yeah.
But I've been telling everyone this when they've been asking about it, and I was saying that I was actually really nervous. Or have been probably more nervous starting a new project than I've ever been with the second Bingo Hall one. Mostly because I slipped so easily into writing the Bingo Hall Detectives with the characters like Amita and Jason and all the other characters in it, and I was worried that I wouldn't be able to recapture that magic. And I remember, speaking of Chris MacDonald again, I remember he told me, or he'd interviewed someone on the Blood Brothers podcast that he does with Rob Parker and Sean Coleman about an author. I can't remember. I've been meaning to look up who the author is, but an author said to him on the podcast that if you're writing a series, the best best bit of advice that they had was, particularly if there's been time between the projects, is to take a chapter from the last book in the series that you wrote and just rewrite it word for word, as in just have it, as an A4 to your left and just sit and retype it out. And that is probably the best bit of writing advice I've ever received, because it worked an absolute treat, and all my confidence shot completely through the roof again. I was so comfortable with the characters, and I've actually not looked back, and it's been great, because it'd been a good few months since I'd sat down and properly written anything, let alone get back into that. And particularly with Cozy Crime, you have to get the tone right, you have to get the kind of the world building right and stuff like that. You can't really veer off into a different subgenre with Cozy Crime. It's very much rooted in what it is. So but no, it's been good. It's great. It's great to be back writing. It's great to be back working with Jason and Amata, and yeah, I'm excited.
Super stuff, and we look forward to that next April, hopefully. And T, same to you. What's next for you in terms of your writing?
Well, same as Jonathan, really. I've already started on the second book in the Whitechapel Murders. They've obviously moved on a little bit, gone up market, and starting to think about different aspects of their life. But as Jonathan says, it's really difficult. Do you can you eclipse what you captured with the first one?
Yeah.
That is the thing. It's tricky. It's a balance.
I concur.
Really,
struggling through the third book in a series, I concur that series writing, especially when you're trying to tie off the narrative arc in a third book of that arc, it's a horrendous thing to do, and it's massively complicated.
Although I have to say, I did enjoy yours as well, Ben.
I hope one day to actually finish the third one. I've got the paper edit on the bedside table that I'm going through, and that's the worst part of any book is the paper edit. I hate it, and
I agree.
It's it's slow progress, but I'm looking forward to getting it finished, and then I'm looking forward to starting something completely different and coming back to that in a couple of years' time. And then taking on board what Jonathan's just said, rewriting a whole chapter so I can get back into that zone. So
that's very good advice.
It's brilliant. It's
worth
fantastic.
thinking about.
I genuinely, it is the best bit of writing advice I've ever been given, and I cannot tell it enough. I just wish I could get the citation of it correct. I must go back and find the podcast it was. I want to say it's someone like James Connolly or something like that. I want to say it's a big mega name, but I'm not going to record for it.
Yeah, brilliant. Right, before we do the answers, Patsy, I'll just recall for you how we do the scoring on the music round. The music round, so you've got a point for the detective, another point, so 2 points in total if you've got 2 of the clues right, and another point, 3 points in total if you've got 4 of the clues right. Okie dokie. The answers for round 5. It must have been round 5 because we're running over. What did Emmanuel Macron do that no one had done since Jacques Chirac?
I said won back-to-back terms as French president.
He was re-elected, the first French president to do so since Jacques Chirac in 2002. So 20 years.
Yeah, I got win a second term.
Perfect. I'll have that. I'll absolutely have that. Question 2. Does anyone know what Neil Parish did?
Tractors. He's a well-known tractor enthusiast, isn't he?
He was looking for tractors the first time. The second time, he didn't even try and deny it. Yes, and he resigned. Question 3: whose dress was Kim Kardashian wearing?
I said Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah, Marilyn Monroe. Absolutely.
I almost said Marilyn Manson, which again is aging me terribly. But no, Marilyn Monroe.
I mean. Still completely feasible. Marilyn Monroe, indeed. It caused all sorts of outrage for a number of reasons. That's pretty much the path of the course of whatever Kim Kardashian does, be it good or bad. Question 4. Who is buying Twitter?
Elon Musk.
Indeed. Elon Musk paying $43 billion. Again, caused all sorts of outrage for a number of reasons. But pretty much part of the course, whatever Elon Musk does, good or bad. Time will tell, of course, what impact he will have on the idea of free speech and Twitter. We will wait and see. And question 5. If you said any of the following, be it authors or books, as long as there are 3 of them, you can have points. Girl A by Abigail Dean. The Heron's Cry by Anne Cleves. Tall Bones by Anna Bailey. Blood Ties Brian McGolloway, The Cut Chris Brookmeyer, The Less Dead Denise Mina, The Nighthawks Ellie Griffiths, Watch Her Fall Erin Kenny, I Know What I Saw Imran Mahmood, True Crime Story Joseph Knox, Daughters of the Night Laura Shepherd Robinson, Dead Ground M.W. Craven, Rabbit Hole Mark Billingham, Slough House Mick Heron, The Devil in the Dark Water Stuart Turton, Midnight at Malabar House Vaseem Khan, and The Last Thing to Burn by Will Dean, and finally The Trawlerman by William Shaw. There we go. Obviously, you guys know a number of the authors, so it'd be really, really unfair of me to say, have you voted yet and who's your favourite? So, T, have you voted yet and who's your favourite?
Actually, I did. And I was going to go for the favourite, which is the most obvious one. And I thought, no, because you'll probably get it anyway. So that was a bit rude, but there you go. But I thought about Ian Rankin, but then I changed my mind and did Mark Billingham.
Excellent. And Jonathan, did you did you vote yet?
I've not cast my vote yet. No, I'm.
So he's open for bribes, ladies and gentlemen. He's open for bribes.
Absolutely. Yes. And the bigger the bribe, the better. That's how this works, isn't it? That's My vote is up for auction, which is appropriate given that it's election day. I think around the UK today, isn't it?
We love corruption in politics.
Absolutely, and other kinds of things as well. Tractors, for example.
Exactly. Okay, then shall we toss up the scores, guys? In the chat, you can obviously tell us your scores if you want.
Ben, sorry, I was going to ask: is it 3 points for the last one there, or is it just 1 point for getting 3 off?
Just one on the last one there. That's why Patsy said she's got 7 out of 7 on the last round. It was 5 out of 5, Patsy. Still 100%. You've had a good. You've done 200% rounds there, Patsy. Cracking score. So while we wait for them to top up their scores, Donna got 14. Excellent. That's a good score, Donna. You look like you finished. You look quite happy with yourself. Go on.
Ladies first.
18.
18.
Don't you dare say 19.
I won't say 19. I'll say 20.
Ah!
20. Now, Chris has appeared in the... Now he's appeared in the comments.
Oh, yeah.
Here he is.
Oh, here it is. Here we go.
Now, when Chris played, there was a top score of 30. And this month there was a top score of 35. So that breaks down to about a 0.7666 points differential or something per point. So, Jonathan, you got 20, which would have been, I think you needed 27 to win because Chris scored 23 out of 30. So you scored 20 out of 35. So Chris, at the moment, reigns supreme. But
just pipped it.
I'm definitely getting the two of you on head to head. Maybe we'll see you for the Christmas special. We might talk about that because I love to make it interesting. Unlucky, he says. Unlucky. If your phone's going off right now, you know who it is.
Oh, absolutely. Well, anytime I get some sort of anonymous number and heavy breathing down the other end of it, I know immediately that it's Chris McDonald. So there you go. T, where can we find out more about you before we disappear? Where can anyone who's not familiar with you go to find out more about?
Probably my Facebook page or my Amazon page, which is TK Geering.
Excellent stuff. And Jonathan, where would we need to go to find out more about you?
You can get me on Twitter at JD Whitelaw13. I think it's Jonathan Whitelaw Author on Facebook, and it's at JD Whitelaw13 on Instagram as well. So across all social media, that's where you can find me.
Excellent stuff. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure tonight to have you both on. Thank you very much. Thank you as well to everybody who's been playing along at home. Thanks for joining in and giving us some feedback as we went. So, TJ, Jonathan Whitelaw, thank you very much. I've been Ben Bruce, and I still will be next month. Good night.
Night.
See you later.